Okay, so hi, I'm Ritika Amit Kumar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of STEM Metaverse. And today I'm going to introduce you and take you through the orientation session for the United Nations SDG Design Thinking Hackathon. SDG essentially stands for Sustainable Development Goals, and many of us are already aware of that. Today, we are going to be talking about the second goal, that is solving for zero hunger. Now, if you've noticed over here, design thinking was put up in bold purple letters. That's because our key focus throughout this hackathon, as is true for every other hackathon across the world, is on design thinking and how you're going to think through the process, identify problems, and solve for them. But what is really design thinking? I'm sure many of us have heard the term, but here's a very, very short and brief breakdown on what it's all about. It's a six-pronged process, essentially. The first step being empathizing, understanding the problem, and getting sensitized to it. This happens through data and understanding of that data and an analysis of that data. So in this program, we're actually going to give you access to a data vault, as we call it, which will contain a whole lot of information which you will have to process and analyze. When you do that, you will come across several problems and gaps that you will notice. And those will be the little problems that you would put out. So that's, for a larger problem like zero hunger, when you're solving for it, there are several other smaller problems that you also need to look at. So that's where the second step is going to arrive. When you look at that data, you identify gaps and then you identify problems that lie there. The third step is when you actually look at those problems and then you start researching and you talk to your mentors, your teachers, your parents, your family, since you're all students, your colleagues, friends, and then you come out with ideas on how to solve some of those problems. Now, for many of you, your core skill set may be around communication, could be around programming, could be around understanding processes and streamlining processes better. So you need to understand where your skill set lies and then solve for those problems. So that's where ideation happens, because you've now understood the problem. You've sort of defined several other problems within the bigger problem, larger problem. And now you're now talking to people, researching, and then identifying what are the problems that you have a skill set to solve for. So I can give you an example over here. Say you feel pertaining to zero hunger, you're good at communication. You might want to create an awareness campaign around it. Or maybe you're good at coding. You might want to develop an app for farm to table, for farmers to get a direct access to market. These are some things that are already happening, but they've all come through this design thinking process. So you need to now think of a step further. If you're good at processes or good at legal, you have a legal background, you would have to think of solving problems through those avenues and areas. An example of processes could be that, you find that there is a nutrient deficiency in a particular part of the world, and you find that same nutrient is grown in abundance in another part of the world. So you would then have to put your thinking hat on, see how you can, get maybe biotechnologists to hybridize and grow that particular plant in different climatic conditions where there is a nutrient deficiency. You could look at transport options. You could look at several other options. Depends on how you identify a problem within a larger problem and then solve for it. Then comes in prototyping. Now you've ideated, you identified a problem, you've thought of how you want to solve it. You need to now create a prototype. So that prototype could be just samples of what kind of an ad campaign would you want to, or awareness campaign would you want to run. It could be a sample of the kind of app you want to develop. It could be just a design, or a process design on what a mind map maybe of how you think you can solve the problem. You could look at several of these and then put them in the form of a prototype, show them to people around you, take feedback, and then actually put out a very small implementation strategy. So in this hackathon, we're not looking at you implementing things, but we're looking at understanding how you look at a problem, try and solve for it, and think about how to implement solutions to that problem. So don't worry, we're going to take you through the data vault. We're also going to run you through a little bit of about zero hunger, share a little perspective on it. But this is essentially what your entire framework for solving for the hackathon is going to be. Now, moving ahead, when you look at problems, the key thing that you need to think about is, how do we define a problem? Well, this is the most important step. How do you identify and define problems? And this is where the larger part of the solution also lies. But let you into a secret. Even we don't really know how are you going to solve for that problem or identify that problem. And that's the reason why we're having these hackathons. The thing over here is, and this is pure government data, we don't know the kind of problems you're going to be facing in 2030. And that's the time when you guys would be literally earning or solving for things. And you would be, literally at the helm of affairs. You would be working by then. Many of you would be working by then. But here is what the problem is. The International Labour Organization suggests that there would be 29 million skills in deficit by the year 2030. So we don't even know what these skills are going to be. So we don't know what lies ahead, but we need you to solve for it. And the only way our generation can help you solve for it or prepare for it is by throwing you into the deep ocean and getting you to think of ways to come out of it. Otherwise, there is no other way to actually prepare you to think out of the box, think on your feet, and just solve, because we don't even know what the problem ahead is going to be. So in fact, to explain the magnitude of the problem we are likely to face is, it's literally going to cause us a loss of $2 trillion in GDP by 2030. And this is India-centric figures. So it's a big problem. But we have a good news as well. And the good news is that India's budget for skill development just for the year of 22-23 is roughly 12,000 crores. Now, this figure is in crores, and the earlier figure that I shared was in millions and trillions, and you need to sort of problem solve. So I'm not going to be converting this for you, but this is just to reflect and share that this is the amount of focus everybody, all education institutions, the government, and everyone has been asked to put into skill development. And one major skill that you need to develop is design thinking, because at the end of the day, everything that translates onto paper actually happens in the head first. So this is where this hackathon is important, and you should participate in it. The good thing about us at STEM Metaverse is that we're trying to develop skills through various partners. And one of our most prominent partners is UNITAR. And UNITAR has this amazing program called the Young Leader Program, wherein they help you acquire leadership skills for all these problems that are now going to occur in 2030 for the skill deficit. So essentially, what they're doing is they're helping you, because leadership is going to be very different in the years to come. You are going to have to think of problems that don't exist as of now. They're possibly going to exist in the future. And you need to motivate children to you need to motivate people, your colleagues and teammates, to solve for a problem that doesn't exist, that nobody can see. So a leader is a person who can foresee problems and then motivate people to solve them, even when those team members cannot actually see those problems. So here I'm going to introduce to you Julian and Azra from UNITAR, that is the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. And they're going to take you through their lovely program called the Young Leader Program. So over to you, Julian and Azra.
Thanks so much, Ritika. Greetings to every one of you from Geneva, Switzerland. Switzerland is a tiny country in the middle of Europe, and Geneva is a very small city right at the center, surrounded by France. And Geneva is very famous for being the hub of the United Nations in Europe. So there's many things we could discuss here, we could see here. And I, in fact, also created a little PowerPoint presentation. Let me open it for you. Are you all doing all right, by the way? You enjoying yourselves? Are you ready for the hackathon? We're very glad to partner together with STEM Metaverse. Excellent. Fantastic. Now, as Ritika already said, we are partnering with STEM Metaverse. We're here in Geneva. And in case you don't know how Geneva looks like, here we have a little picture for you. Small, beautiful, but most importantly, it's really packed with United Nations organization. So all these problems that Ritika has, described already, the challenges that are lying ahead, the United Nations is there to trying to tackle them as well, right? So here we have, for example, the World Trade Organization. Here we have the World Meteorological Organization. That's all about climate change here. Here is, for example, UNHCR helping the refugees in the world. Some of them may have to leave their countries because of climate change. So it's all interrelated with each other. And here, this is actually the big palace of nations. This is, let's say, the heart of the UN in Geneva, where all the diplomats, join in their conferences, countries talk to each other to solve the problems in the world. Here's another picture. And I hope some of you have the chance to come to Geneva once. If so, please send us a message to Asra and me, because we are very passionate about this place, the Palace of Nations it's called, and we're happy to show you around it. Now, this is what the United Nations looks like when you have the entire system. And that might, surprise you, because you might have thought the United Nations is actually one organization, but it's much more than that. It's like an umbrella, as you see. And all of these smaller UN agencies, they exist to exactly try to, solve one of these global problems that we are facing. For example, zero hunger, right? We have the World Food Program here, or also the Food and Agricultural Organization, which tries to tackle that. There are plenty of more things. And here, just to give you a sneak peek, if you want to work for the United Nations one day, this is actually how it looks like from inside. Of course, the top is the Secretary General. Who of you knows his name? Antonio Guterres from Portugal. And there are many others. But interesting for you, perhaps in the future, is here, the internship. This is how you could contribute. You join in the United Nations for 6 months, for example, and help out. And of course, and that's what Ritika also mentioned, the United Nations is all working for these SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So it's kind of like the to-do list for humanity. It's like you're at school and you're writing down your homework. This has to be done by the year of 2030. You see, it's ambitious, but it can be done. Zero hunger is one of the goals. Same as quality education, which is our main motivation, and climate action, and plenty of more things. So this is just to give you some appetizers here, of this entire United Nations world that is there to discover. And I know at least one of you now having a big smile on your face. This is Asra. She is now my colleague. She might say a few words just in a second, but the key thing is Asra has joined the United Nations by taking one of our programs. And we have this UN Young Leaders Training Program coming up now. It's 2 weeks of length. It starts quite soon. It starts in about 1.5 weeks, but we still have some space available. And since we have the cooperation with STEM Metaverse and Ritika, there's actually quite some, peaks and perks for you to join in as well. This is a 2-week program. As I said, you will have a module on the United Nations. You will have a module on the Sustainable Development Goals. We will have expert lectures, diplomatic training workshops, and also virtual guided tours, getting to know here International Geneva as well. And at the end of these 2 weeks, you will get a certificate showing that you have obtained this knowledge. And of course, you have gained valuable contacts, if not friends, in Asra and me that are here in Geneva and ready to help when we can. So thanks so much for your attention. And over to you again, Ritika, and good luck for your hackathon.
Thank you, Julian. And thank you for that wonderful insight into what the Young Leader program is going to be about and what it's going to cover. I'm sure it's going to be very exciting for children to study with other international students and understand and widen their perspective on problem solving and also understanding the world maybe a little better. So before I go ahead and talk about Zero Hunger, I would like to actually introduce to you Mrs. Rachna Kodesia. She's she's actually the person who got Montessori education into India. Her learning, her teaching, facilitation techniques are absolutely unique. So ma'am, I'd like you to talk a little bit about leadership and how you see leadership changing, and why is it important for today's children to do something like this, to be involved in a leadership course like this.
Thank you so much, Ritika. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are, and I'm going to just
okay.
place the spotlight.
So, first, let me just congratulate you for this awesome thought. And Julian, it's awesome listening to you, and the kind of partnership that you have is going to go a long way in actually solving the problems. Now, when we talk about leadership, I think that the youth of today and the children of today are definitely more evolved than any one of us. Their awareness levels and how they think, and their innovation, their creative thinking, and even their innovative ideas, they just may not require our support. First is this, because I truly trust the minds of today. And what is the best part is that the idealism that this youth has, about concerns and the concern that they have, it's untainted by acceptance of leaving things as they are. If they are given a seed of reform and looking into things and solving the problems and giving them their responsibility, we are going to have the best next leaders in the world.
So, well, here is India's Global Hunger Index ranking. We are 101. Now, out of 195 countries, 101 looks bang in the middle, but I think they sort of there are only 116 countries being tracked in this report. So 101 is actually a dismal figure. You can attribute it to population and several other things, but it's just sad that in India, we still suffer from malnutrition. So it's something that needs to be worked on. And 101, considering the level of intellect we have in our country, is actually something that we need to really work on. So, which is the reason why at STEM Metaverse we decided to take to solving for zero hunger as our main goal for this hackathon, because we really need you young children to put your heads together and solve for this. And but on the brighter side, there is definitely a brighter side, and the brighter side is this, that when the National Food Security Mission was launched in 2007, we saw a huge growth in production and the yield of rice, wheat, and pulses. These are the three main things that are being tracked. And I must tell you, this is not through, just improving soil and weather and climatic, not climatic, but for soil and those conditions for farmers. It is essentially through a whole lot of policy changes, it's through a whole lot of process changes that this yield has increased and it's now reaching people. So very importantly, for example, there is something called a BIRAC grant, which is given to biotechnologists to hybridize and come out with newer varieties of food and vegetables that can sustain more climatic changes and other changes that we are going through. There is a lot of funding that's happening for drone technologies. A whole series of startups have opened up and are actually agri-tech is now a thing. So there is a term called agri-tech and people are working in it. In fact, IITs and a couple of other institutions have been given grants to actually innovate on agri-tech. So it's not just the tech part of things, it's also the process side of things. From farmer to table, a whole lot of things have now changed and processified. But what we want you to do is this data is actually being put in a data vault, which my colleague Varun is going to take you through. And you will then have to see what has already been done and what still needs to be done to solve for one of these 5 problems. So the 5 problems here, as international organizations sort of have broken them down into, are 1, growth of organic food, making sure that all food systems throughout the supply chain of food, from sowing to reaping to sending them to the market, to all of that is all organic and sustainable. Then of course, there's a huge focus on rural poverty, and they're focusing, you've been hearing a lot about farmer deaths, reducing those has been one of the mandates. So how do you solve for that? The third thing that is being solved for is reducing food waste. A lot of companies and a lot of organizations have started solving for this as well. Then, of course, giving access to healthy food, balanced meals throughout the year to everybody. This is one area that still needs work. And then the last one, that's the end to malnutrition in all its forms. This is, again, something that is still a work in progress. So these are 5 problems. You need to look at the data set that we'll be providing you and then solve for any of these. So look at the problems, look at the data, try and come out with smaller problem statements and solve for those. Largely, whatever you think about is going to be in one of these 5 categories. So now I'll hand over to Varun, who's going to take you through the data vault, which has all the data and research material that you would require. And then we'll close the session. So over to you, Varun. I'm stopping screen share.
Thank you, Ratika. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and I will show you how you can log in and how you can participate. So I'm sharing my screen now. Please let me know once you can see my screen. Can someone confirm if they can see my screen?
Yes, Varun, we can see your screen.
Okay, so the step 1 is you have to go to the site called stemmetaverse.in. That is STEMMETAVERSE.in. We have all the things that we do here, and you can directly go to the login if you want to just quickly enter the site. You have to create an account, so you just have to put in your name, email address, and a secure password. Once you click the sign up, you will receive a mail which will ask you to activate your account. Once you click that button, you will be inside. However, I have already created my login, so I'm just going to sign in with my credentials right now, and I will show you how it looks on the inside. So as soon as you log in, you will be seeing all the courses that we run. So for this particular program, you have to click the first one, which is UN SDG Hackathon Data Vault. You can click on the image here and you will see some details. You will see how many people are using it, and you click on the enroll now button here. As soon as enrollment is free, so as soon as you enroll, you will directly be logged into, you will directly be entering the class section of the course. You will see this particular box which says data vault. Click anywhere within the data box, anywhere in the box in the data vault, and you will see the class materials. So there are certain materials that we have actually curated for you. There are certain documents such as United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We have some infographics like World Hunger infographic, some humanitarian response plan. We also have certain videos for you, and in the end we have a document which contains all the links and all the resources for learning into this in more detail. So you can click on any document, you can download it. For example, I have just clicked this one, so you can see this is a presentation, so you can refer to any of the documents and then you can study it. Once you have your plan ready, you can go on the pink button called upload assignment, and then you can have a write-up or file upload or both. So basically you can have files, and you can have a basic write-up saying what does your idea represent, how do you want us to read through the uploads that you make. And as soon as you are done with uploading the file, you submit the assignment, and we will have all your assignments with us. So this is a snapshot of what you will be going through. In case if you are coming after logging in, so you need not enroll every single time. So you can go into my account on the left hand side and go into subscribe courses. You will see this particular course towards the bottom if you have enrolled into more courses, and from there as well you can follow the same path. You can click on the course name and then you can see the data vault. If any of you face any issues during the entire process, you can reach out to us. Our email address is school@stemmetaverse.in. Vidya, can you share that in the chat box while I am talking? So it is school, school@stemmetaverse.in. So you can reach out for anything from login issues to how do we submit the assignment, and you'll be looking forward to receiving your assignment. So that's everything from my side. I'm stopping my screen share. Over to you, Ritika.
So essentially, children, you can very well, so you can use the upload option, but just in case, you have a problem uploading it, or you've sent out a video of your work and that's very, very huge, you can just drop us an email at school@stemmetaverse.in. I put that in the chat box. So use that. Else, if you have any other queries, just keep writing into us. We will be responsive on this email as well. This is almost like getting into, another course or a education program. Like you apply for university, there is a selection process, you get selected, after which, after you get selected, then there is, if at all, a scholarship process that you can apply for. And again, then basis that you get awarded a scholarship, and then you can sort of take admission in that course. So looking forward to understanding your thought process, your design thinking skills, and how you're going to solve for this. Remember now, the other part is when you submit and you participate in this hackathon, you will be selected to join in for the Young Leader program by UNITAR. And this will be like part of the selection process, and that is where you should be, because you are going to then be studying and working with children from across the world, and you will get a United Nations certificate. Now, there is, as far as scholarships are concerned, there will be some part scholarships, but that will be subject to your getting selected for that course. So the first step is that you participate in this hackathon, you submit your document or video or whatever it is that you've created or prototype, you upload that or you email it to us. This has to happen by 12th of June. That is just 4 days from now. By 14th of June, we are going to review everything and then let you know who are the children who've gotten selected. And after which, if you want a scholarship or a part scholarship or all of that, there will be a small separate process for that. And then your classes are going to start on 20th of June. So, no, the courses are not free. This is done by the United Nations. So the courses are not free, but yes, you are eligible for scholarships. And it's like enrolling into any other university or course or anything else that you seek admission in. So this is a leadership program. And yes, looking forward to your entries, looking forward to understanding your thought process, your design thinking skills.